I am here to talk to you guys about newuth.ca, which is OCASI's website that's geared towards newcomer youth. Julia already did a great job talking to you guys about what OCASI is and what we represent and what we do. So I'm not going to go over what OCASI does, but I will talk to you guys about newuth.ca and how you guys can use this website every day to assist you guys in working with newcomer youth, or youth in general. So the site is newuth.ca. It is relatively new compared to the other. Settlement.Org is over 10 years old, so just to give you guys an idea of where it is with New Youth. New Youth is about 2.5 years old now. So the site is for newcomer youth in Ontario between the ages of 13 to 29. But of course, as you guys know from anyone in the room that works with youth, this definition of what a youth is changes over time, right? So for instance, we have a comments page on this website. We get questions from youth that are well into their 30s, and they ask us questions that are very similar to the issues that a youth would deal with in in their mid-20s or even earlier. So what does the site have to offer? How can you guys use this site on a daily basis for the youth that you guys work with? Right at the top of the page, of the front page, there are 6 sections. We've identified these 6 sections as the primary sections that are of interest to newcomer youth. So there's school, work, immigration, law, health, and daily life. So for the Swiss workers in the room, you might get a lot of questions from your students regarding, on my last year of high school, I want to apply to college, university, I want to get some funding, how do I pay for my school, the application process is so intimidating, where can I get some help, right? And you might be overwhelmed as well because, OSAP application, school application, these are not very easy things to fill out. So I'm not going to go through each section. Each section is, so for instance, the school section is broken down by high school, university, and college, and how do you pay for school. And one thing that's very unique to the site, which is not available in any site in Ontario or Canada, so for the Swiss workers in the room, you might have had students come to you and say, I don't want to apply for OSAP. I want to find an alternative way of paying for my school so I'm not burdened with debt when I finish. Not to put anybody on the spot, but what would you tell a student like that? Where would you tell a student like that to go and find that information? If you guys want to, for the Swiss team that wants to answer, but not to put anybody on the spot. So what this site offers is a complete list of all the post-secondary institutions in Ontario, colleges and universities, and all the bursaries, scholarships, and grants that they offer. And as I mentioned, this is totally unique to the site. It gives a brief breakdown of what is a bursary, scholarship, or grant, and it lists, depending on which university or college they want to go to, it lists all the scholarships that are available. So it's the first article here under the Pay for School section. And there's also information on how do you apply for OSAP, what is OSAP, but for the sake of this is a brief breakdown of what are scholarships, grants, and bursaries, because most students may or may not know what the difference are between the three. And this section here takes you to a list of all the schools in Ontario and where you would be able to find them. So, if a student were to ask you, I want to attend York University, I want to go to George Brown, I don't want to apply for OSAP, or is an alternative to OSAP, you would come to this page, you'd click on university, you'd scroll down to York, and then all the information that is available for York is on that page. So grants, who they should contact, which financial advisor, which financial office they should contact, and stuff like that. So that's just one example of how you could probably use the page, use that particular section. There's also 5 other sections on the site. Sorry, this is taking forever to load. So here's a list of the universities. As long as the computer doesn't know you are in a urgent state. Yeah. The list is there, trust me. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Okay, so like I said, so they would ask what, if depending on what university they wanted to go to. Here's a list of all the universities in Ontario. And so let's say Nipissing or College of the Arts. And it gives you a breakdown of everything that's there. So what is the amount, who to contact, all the lists of grants and bursaries, and there's always a contact number there. You could do this by going to each school individually, each website. You can imagine how long that will take. So we've compiled this list. It's all here for you guys to use. And it's for your students or for the youth that you guys work with. Some of the other sections regarding work, of course, finding a job for a newcomer youth is very important. A lot of newcomer youth come to Canada and they've kind of assumed the responsibility at home of the breadwinner because their parents, they might be dealing with other issues regarding settlement. So a 16, 17-year-old might, now have to find a job to support his brothers or even support his mom. So that's a very important thing for newcomer youth, as you guys may know. So under the work section, there's all kinds of resources on finding a job. And there's not just the basic stuff about how do you put together a resume or how do you put together a cover letter. Well, once you have a resume, now what do you do, right? Now where do you go? It's not just the it's not just the basics. There's actually very comprehensive information on there that you guys can use. Great links to other websites, other organizations that do amazing work on the ground, front line, that you guys could refer to you to. And as you guys know, for you to graduate in Ontario, they have to fulfill a certain amount of volunteer hours. So there's information there on volunteering, why it's important to volunteer in Canada, where you go for resources of volunteering. The immigration section deals more with documentation regarding work permits, different things, applying for OSAP as a refugee, is that possible, is that not possible, what are the alternatives? And of course the law is a very important one. That was a great video that you guys showed with a youth coming here and he's involved with the law, and that's very, it's quite a common thing. And youth find themselves, there's a lot of unfair treatment in that sense. So it's important that they know their laws. What happens if there's an issue of arrest? If they're under the threat of deportation, who can they contact? So all that information is there as well. And under the health section, there's all kinds of issues, all kinds of articles regarding stress, anxiety, bullying in school, which are all very relevant topics when it comes to newcomer youth. The daily life section is probably the most interactive and the most vibrant. It is actually a very open section, so it's very dynamic in that sense. So there's information on there regarding how do you ride the bus in Toronto, how do you save your money, why is it important to save your money, how do you apply for a credit card, how do you open a bank account, how do you find affordable, safe food, and where you find low-income services like dental care, community health center, things like that. So we've kind of left that section open for articles or topics that may not go into the other file. So that's all there. A great way that we stay in touch with you with this site is through our Facebook page, which is quite active, and I probably should have logged in before. So that actually is right here. So our Facebook page is one of the ways we interact with newcomer youth. I actually get questions from youth through our Facebook page. I just moved to Hamilton. What should I know? Or I'm looking for a job. Can you guys put me in touch with somebody in this particular neighborhood? And we will do that, right? Our Twitter page is probably our most active. Through our Twitter page, we are able to connect with other organizations. Not so much youth, but organizations that have events, relevant, even job postings. But it has allowed us to form partnerships with other organizations. I mean, there's just some examples of Maytree and different organizations that we've done work with. And also allows us to get our message across to a wider audience that we may not be able to get to. So for instance, we have a newsletter that comes out periodically, which I will show you as well. The newsletters are sent every other week. And so they're sent to our followers on Twitter, and other people will retweet them to their followers. And that allows it to go to an audience that we don't have access to. So the website also has a newsletter as well, which if you guys are interested, you guys can subscribe to. And basically what the newsletter is, it'll feature new articles, it'll feature events that are relevant to newcomer youth, and that's another cool thing about this site. On the front page, there is an events section. And these events are newcomer youth events in Ontario. They are put there by either myself or organizations that will post them on our website, which I moderate, and usually have to change a few things on there. But if you guys have events that you want youth to know about, feel free to post them on here. And that's it's a great way for you guys to promote your events, to have a great audience too. Another aspect of how we connect with youth is through storytelling, is through the narratives of newcomer youth. I felt that about a year ago, the site needs a voice. It's not, people don't just want to read articles. They want to hear from youth, right? And so the great videos that you guys showed, some of the organizations that we've gone to and talked to about some of the work that they do with youth, they're also, everybody's making videos, right? Because people are realizing that it's not enough for us to talk for youth. It's also probably more so valuable to hear their own stories, right? So one of the things that I did about a year ago is go to different cities in Ontario and talk to youth about what does it mean to live in Niagara Falls? What does it mean to live in Hamilton? Why did you pick Hamilton, right? If you had a choice between Hamilton and Toronto, what would you pick? If you know of a youth that wants to live in Kingston, what would you tell them, right? What kind of advice would you give them about what they should expect if they move to Kingston? And the reason why we did that is because every youth is really for youth in Ontario. Ontario is a very big place, and the information that we have on there, it's very generic, right? So applying for applying for a driver's license, it's different in different cities, right? It's applying for school is different depending on the neighborhood you live in. Finding a job is different, right? And the lived experience. This is just a little glimpse of youth in Kingston. I'll just show you guys a little bit of it. And it's just basically me with a camera in Kingston, of course with prior permission, talking to youth about their experiences in Kingston and asking different questions. And the reason why this is important for you guys is, if you have a youth that's new to your high school, or is actually leaving your high school to go to one of these cities, right, and wants to know, hey, do you know anything about Kingston? Right, I'm moving to Kingston with my family. I'm going to go to high school there. Do you know anything about it? Right, you can show them, this video, and here's a little story of youth in Kingston, and that's what they have to say. And of course, these are not all rosy and funny stories, right? Some of the youth have gone through some very hardcore challenges, right? Trying to integrate into different cities. And of course, one of the biggest challenges is the weather, right? So we have youth here. There's one particular youth, he's actually very funny. He's from Cuba. And he's saying, I love Canada, and then it snowed, right? And that's a big thing that we always hear, like the weather. People know it's cold here, but they don't really know until it snows. So that's another aspect of the site, the stories. Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.